Hi, this is Dr. Kenneth Augustus Walker, your YouTube host for my channel, Diving into Life with Augustus, where we dive into different topics. Primarily, we're a scuba diver, but we dive into life issues. We dive into inspiration, motivation, cooking, and now we're doing this incredible series on the new Pope in the Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV. Look, I want to thank all 8,000 of you in the last 4 days alone who have tuned in to watch my new series on the life of the new Pope in the Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV. There are many rituals associated with a new Pope. We're all familiar with the Conclave, where the cardinal electors, which in this case were 133, went into conclave to elect, and to the surprise of the world, they elected the first ever American-born Pope, North America that is. So the next thing you saw on TV was when the Dean of the College of Cardinals came out on that window on the balcony of St. Peter's, and he uttered these famous immortal words, Habemus Papam, Habemus Papiam, Habemus Papam. That means we have a Pope, and that Pope, of course, was Leo XIV. Well, there's another ritual that you might not be familiar with, and that is when a Pope dies, they seal his apartment. We call that the Papal seal. The popes have always lived, 90% of them have always lived in the Apostolic Palace. A few lived at Castel Andolf, and a couple have lived in Santa Marta, St. Mary. Well, that is where Pope Francis lived. Well, when the Pope dies, they seal his door. Number one, to protect all personal items. Number two, to make sure no one steals anything from that papal apartment. And only the new Pope can break that seal. Well, this week, Pope Leo XIV broke that seal. What did he discover? What did he find about the deceased Pope? Did Pope Francis write a new book? What was the Pope working on up until the very moment that he died? Let's dive into this video and you will find out. At the end of the video, I would like for you to hit the like button. I would like for you to subscribe. I would like for you to turn on the notification bell. In fact, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for turning on the notification bell. Now we're going to dive into Santa Maria, St. Mary's residence, where Pope Francis lived until his last breathing moment. And we're going to find out, what did Pope Leo XIV find when he broke that seal?
The death of a pope is always a moment of profound stillness. It is a pause in the grand symphony of faith. The world mourns, the faithful pray, and within the silent walls of the Vatican, a sacred ritual unfolds. The papal apartment, the private sanctuary of God's representative on earth, is sealed. This act, steeped in tradition, marks not just the end of a papacy, but the beginning of a sacred interregnum. The air is thick with incense and the weight of history. Cardinals, cloaked in red, move with hushed solemnity. Their footsteps echo in the empty corridors. They are the guardians of tradition, the stewards of a legacy that stretches back centuries. And at the heart of this transition lies a simple, powerful act: the sealing of the late Pope's private chambers. It is a tangible reminder of the fleeting nature of earthly power, the passing of one era, and the anticipation of a new dawn. The tradition of sealing the papal apartments is not merely ceremonial. Its roots stretch back to the 13th century, a time of political intrigue and papal vulnerability. In 1294, Pope Celestine V, a humble hermit thrust reluctantly onto the throne of St. Peter, abdicated after just 5 months. His successor, Boniface VIII, feared that Celestine's supporters might seize his personal writings and belongings. They could use these to challenge Boniface's legitimacy. To prevent this, Boniface ordered the sealing of Celestine's chambers. This act established a precedent. It recognized the need to safeguard the private papers, possessions, and unfinished work of a deceased pontiff. The papal apartments, no longer merely living quarters, became a repository of history. They were a treasure trove of documents that offered a glimpse into the heart and mind of the Vicar of Christ. Over the centuries, the tradition evolved. Strict protocols were established. These ensured the sanctity and security of the papal apartment until a new pope was chosen and ready to claim his inheritance. The election of Cardinal Robert Prevost as Pope Leo XIV sent shockwaves through the Catholic world. An American pope, the first in history, was a seismic shift. It signaled a potential departure from centuries of European tradition. But it was Pope Leo's decision to break the seal on his predecessor's apartment just days after his own election that truly captivated the world's attention. This act, laden with symbolism, was a clear statement of intent. Leo XIV, while respecting tradition, was not bound by it. His decision was not without controversy. Some within the Curia, the Vatican's governing body, whispered of disrespect. They argued for a more cautious approach, a longer period of reflection before disturbing the sanctity of Pope Francis' private domain. But Leo XIV remained steadfast. He argued that the church needed transparency and a sense of continuity. The world, he believed, deserved to see that the transition of power, while solemn, was also an opportunity for renewal. The contents of Pope Francis' private apartment were a matter of intense speculation. What secrets did those walls hold? What treasures of faith and history lay hidden from view? Some Vatican watchers speculated that Francis, known for his humility and simplicity, might have left behind little of material value. Others whispered of unfinished encyclicals. They imagined documents outlining bold reforms. These might address the church's stance on social justice, climate change, and the role of women. There were even rumors of personal diaries. These would offer an unprecedented glimpse into the spiritual struggles and triumphs of a man who had captivated the world with his compassion and humility. The possibilities were as vast and varied as the church itself. Each potential discovery held the power to inspire, challenge, or even reshape the faithful's understanding of the papacy and its place in the modern world. The breaking of the seal sent ripples of curiosity and apprehension throughout the global church. For many, it was a moment charged with emotion. The faithful had grown accustomed to the rhythm of papal transitions, marked by tradition and a sense of measured solemnity. Leo XIV, full-time, decisive action. His willingness to step outside the established norms was both exhilarating and unsettling. Some saw it as a sign of disrespect, a break with centuries of tradition. Others, however, embraced it as a breath of fresh air. They viewed it as evidence of a pope unafraid to confront the challenges facing the church in the 21st century. The world watched, captivated, as the doors swung open. The cameras streamed live footage of the event. It was a moment of global unity. People of all faiths and backgrounds were drawn together by the shared human experience of curiosity, anticipation, and the weight of history. The tension between tradition and modernity was palpable. The very act of breaking the seal, while a departure from established protocol, was conducted with the utmost reverence and care. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, A figure often seen as a guardian of tradition stood by Leo XIV's side. His presence was a visible symbol of the church's willingness to embrace change while upholding its core values. The world watched as, step by measured step, Leo XIV entered his predecessor's private domain. Cameras captured every detail. The world saw the simple furnishings, the worn books on the desk, the crucifix hanging above the bed. It was a glimpse into the life of a man who, despite his exalted position, lived a life of humility and service. An American Pope, humility and openness. Pope Leo XIV's background played a pivotal role in shaping his approach. Born and raised in the American Midwest, he brought with him a unique perspective to the papacy. His upbringing instilled in him a deep respect for transparency and open dialogue. These were values not always associated with the often secretive world of the Vatican. His decision to open Pope Francis's apartment was a testament to this belief in open communication. He believed that the church, in order to remain relevant in the 21st century, needed to engage with the world in a spirit of honesty and humility. This commitment to transparency, however, was not a rejection of tradition. It was a recognition that the church's timeless message of love, compassion, and redemption could be expressed in ways that resonated with the modern world. The weight of legacy, the promise of dawn. The discovery of Pope Francis's personal writing, including unfinished drafts of encyclicals and reflections on his papacy, sent shockwaves through the church. These documents, penned in Francis's own hand, offered an intimate glimpse into the mind and heart of a man who had captivated the world with his humility and compassion. The encyclicals, though incomplete, hinted at a bold vision for the future of the church. They addressed pressing global issues such as climate change, economic inequality, and the plight of refugees. Francis's reflections on his papacy, often deeply personal and introspective, revealed the weight of responsibility he carried and his unwavering commitment to serving the poor and marginalized. These writings were not merely historical artifacts. They were a call to action, a challenge to the church and the world to live up to the gospel's message of love, justice, and compassion. A faithful inheritance, continuity, and change. The revelation of Pope Francis' private writings sparked intense debate within the church. Some saw them as a roadmap for the future. They urged Pope Leo XIV to complete his predecessor's unfinished work and implement his vision for a more just and compassionate world. Others, however, expressed concerns that Francis's more progressive views on social issues could divide the church. They urged caution, emphasizing the importance of upholding traditional doctrine. Pope Leo XIV, now tasked with interpreting and potentially implementing his predecessor's vision, faced the daunting challenge of balancing continuity with change. He needed to navigate the complex web of theological interpretations, political pressures, and the diverse voices within the church. Conclusion: an open door, an uncertain future. The breaking of the seal on Pope Francis' apartment was more than just a symbolic act. It was a watershed moment in the history of the Catholic Church. It signaled a new era of transparency. It showed a willingness to engage with the modern world on its own terms. The discovery of Pope Francis's personal writings added another layer of complexity to this narrative. It presented both a challenge and an opportunity for the church to reflect on its role in the 21st century. As Pope Leo XIV embarked on his own papal journey, he carried the weight of history and the hopes of the faithful. The world watched, filled with a mix of anticipation and uncertainty as this new chapter in the long and storied history of the Catholic Church unfolded. The sealed door, once a symbol of finality, had been opened. It revealed not just the legacy of a beloved pope, but the promise of a new dawn for the church he so faithfully served. Thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.